So to get started, I'm going to have Will to come up and sort of kick off with a few announcements and event.
Thank you all for being here. Board of the Lake County Economic Development Corporation has been working with the County of Lake, the City of Lakeport, the City of Clear Lake, and the Workforce Alliance of the North Bay. And through that process, we have engaged with Dr. Rob Eyler to work with all of us countywide on developing a strategic economic plan of action for us to review, implement, and put into work in short term and long term. So this has been an ongoing process. As Rob mentioned, some of you might have been here in December of 2015. Some of you might have been at Woodland Community College last August 2017. And this is a follow-up and a continuation of that process.
So folks, here's the story for tonight. I'm going to walk you real quick through our agenda. Our agenda is pretty straightforward. I'm going to give you the purpose of tonight's meeting in just a minute, and then we're going to talk about, in a sense, the purpose of what we're ultimately trying to get done with this data and a lot more. Our time tonight is going to be in what's called a World Cafe format. Has anybody engaged in something like a World Cafe in the past? Okay, good. So we're going to, I think we've got just enough people to do it right given our layout, but I'll come back and talk about the etiquette and the output from this. Then we'll start our rounds of discussion a la the World Cafe style and etiquette. We will summarize with a final round that will give us themes from what each table talked about, and then we'll talk about next steps and leave. So folks, here's the point. I do a lot of speeches where I talk about what's going on with the economy. Tonight I have very little to say because really at the end of the day, this is all about what you have to say, okay? But I'm going to lead us off and just kind of tee up where we're headed. So I want to first, we did our introductions. We're going to go quickly, I think, around the room and introduce ourselves to each other. I want to thank Wanby, the County of Lake, and Lake County EDC because that's what's sponsoring all this, including the food and including all these community fora. The purpose and the things we're looking to do here are the following. These are the questions I've been hired to answer. What businesses or sectors of the economy will come, stay, and grow in Lake County? Second, who will these businesses employ? So economic development is one leg of a multi-leg stool. Its partner leg is workforce development. And you can't really have one without the other unless you intend on importing every single person you hire, which has its own both risks and rewards. Third is how will government be a partner in the evolution of Lake County's economy? Okay? And then fourth, what infrastructure investments are needed to help Lake remain a place that's sustainable in terms of both the environment, the people that are here and the investments made for the people, and also the businesses as a community going forward, okay? So in many ways, the plan that I'm meant to put out as an action plan to be followed in this county needs your voice. Not only is a ton of quantitative data, you're providing me a lot of qualitative data, things that I would not know because I don't live here or have a business here that help shape and color where we're going to go. So if you jam all those together, this is really what we're talking about. The people that live here, the place and its preservation, the politics allowing growth to happen in a way that's sustainable for you all, and then finally that profit going back into the community and helping the people. That is classically how you do economic development when it's done right. They all feed off of each other. So a lot of what I'm aiming to do at a 5,000 foot level with this project is provide a path upon which Lake County could walk to generate that so-called virtuous cycle. I've been working in and around Lake County for the last 15 years. So I know Lake County from a bunch of different angles, and I don't know it well enough to just come in and swoop in and give you a plan. So a lot of what tonight's about is actually hearing more from you who are on the ground every day, wanting to live here for the rest of your life, and want to see change happen in a positive way. And folks, there's a lot of trade-offs. So as an economist, my biggest problem is trade-offs, or so-called opportunity costs. So we can't find utopia. If you want utopia, there's no place on earth that's got that, okay? However, can you move positively forward in a way where you sort of minimize the trade-offs and maximize the benefits of forward movement? In theory, yes. And a lot of what I'm going to do in this project is try to provide that path. The key to this tonight is just to engage with each other, be honest, but the etiquette here is to listen and talk. How many people in here consider themselves relatively big talkers, like to talk? That's okay. I like to talk. Okay, good. So one of my biggest problems is I don't listen that well sometimes. So if you're a big talker, listen for a little bit, okay? And get down as thoughts as you can. These Post-it notes that are on each table are for your initial thoughts, okay? You're going to sit down. There's a question on all four tables. Your initial table is where you will end up after the fourth round of movement, okay? You're going to start at one table, then successively you're going to move to all 4 tables, meaning that you're going to have a chance to give answers to all 4 questions. Okay? So these will be your initial thoughts. We are going to have a table host that you're going to elect in the first 2 minutes when you sit down at your initial table. That person will stay at that table and gather the themes that are starting to boil up from everybody's thoughts to the questions. And at the end of the 4 rounds, the 5th and final round is for your team to get back together again and say, what did you learn from this exercise and what can you tell the crowd going forward? But all the thoughts will be recorded by me and will end up in the final plan as recognition of your voice in this process. Okay? So what's going to happen is that we're going to do 4 rounds. It's going to be 15 minutes for the first round because that's the toughest one because you're all brand new to it. Then you're going to move to another table and it's only going to be 10 minutes because there's going to be a bunch of initial thoughts sitting there and then you're going to add your voice. And then 8, and then 7. And then you're going to go back where you started, and we'll see what themes emerge. Okay? The process is that straightforward, but the idea is for you to talk. That's why it's called a World Cafe. Sitting around, talking about something, trying to get themes driven from what you're talking about. All right? And like I said, be honest, be collaborative, listen, and talk. That's the key. On July 1st, I'm going to send a document to the Workforce Alliance of the North Bay to show progress thus far, and it's relatively early. You may be questioning why we're doing this so early in the process, and you should question it a little bit, but that's because of timing and a couple other things, and it's okay. The point is that all the thoughts that ended up on those Post-its will end up in that document that flows as the initial statement about where we are in this process. Okay, that's part 1. However, our job now is not to say aloud every single thought that ended up on the paper. I will put that in writing. What your task now is, which you might find a little tricky, is to work with your table host in trying to get 4 maximum themes, 4 maximum, out of what you have in front of you. And think thematically. Do not think about detail. Think about how they cluster into certain types of thoughts, okay? Because those themes can become economic development, workforce development, local marketing themes going forward, assuming the quantitative data support going that direction. You got 10 minutes.